In this video, I want to show you my top proven tips to really supercharge your Facebook strategy as a solopreneur. And make sure you stick around to the end because I want to reveal the #1 secret that I use to not only maintain and boost engagement, but also convert more leads into customers using Facebook. So you're not going to want to miss this. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name is Emmanuel. I am the founder and kind of chief talking head guy here over at Square One Group. Our mission is real simple. We want to help solopreneurs, businesses of one, really help grow and scale their business using systems. Now, this topic is very near and dear to my heart because this is the platform, the Meta platform has been the go-to platform for me and my private clients to really help us break through a lot of the barriers in terms of revenue for our business and help me break my first 7 figures just using Facebook as a strategy, as well as Instagram and Meta, as well as all of my other private clients that we've been helping. So all of the stuff here, stuff that I've done before, that we've executed before, it's all very useful stuff. So I hope you're ready to take a whole bunch of notes. All right, now big idea #1, it is to focus on organic. And this means posting organically through your Facebook personal and maybe Facebook business page. But I'm gonna say predominantly your Facebook personal page, just simply because, I mean, let's face it, unless you're running ads, your business page is going to be a ghost town. So one of the quickest and fastest ways to really generate and drum up some new leads and new prospects for your business is to actually focus on your Facebook personal page. Now, posting on these pages, it is very important to understand what to post and what not to post. Like, great example, I was working with a private client of ours who was posting every single day on his Facebook and wasn't getting any traffic whatsoever. And then we did a deep dive audit on what he was actually posting, and it was like the stuff that you can guarantee is not going to get engagement. Like, for example, he would find random articles online and then he would share them to his Facebook feed, or he'd, create a cool, like, inspirational quote that he'd get maybe from ChatGPT, go on a Canva and then post this inspirational quote. And it was getting like 0 likes, maybe 1 or 2 likes from like a family or friend. But for the most part, it just wasn't really moving the needle for him. The big shift here is that we did a couple things. #1 is we focused on creating engagement. Now, the easiest way to create engagement, it's to create polls, to create quizzes, to ask questions on your Facebook feed to try to get people to respond. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how many people are just not doing this. So figure out a topic to talk about. It doesn't necessarily have to be about your business, but just figure out any topic and just ask a simple A, B, C multiple choice question and see who engages. That's one of the fastest and easiest ways to get someone to click. It doesn't require a bunch of typing, just them clicking on one of the answers in your poll, and to actually see some engagement drive up in terms of your posts. Now, another big piece of going organic is to tell a great story. Now, I think this is an art that has just been lost, especially with founders. But the bottom line here is when you can tell a great story, it is more compelling than just stream of consciousness numbers, facts, and data. Like, a great story will actually stick to a person that's listening versus just looking at, some spreadsheets, or maybe even just a cool infographic. So what I want to present to you now is the framework that we use to tell a great story. By the way, I'm going to preface this by saying I might just ruin every single movie for you right now, but if you understand how this works, it becomes a heck of a lot easier for you to create compelling content. Now, what I'm referring to is called the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is really just made up of a couple different parts. Part 1 is really just talking about the avatar. Now, the avatar is not you. This is the ideal customer or client that you're talking to or talking about. And typically, they're going to have a problem. They're going to face some sort of roadblock, some sort of challenge, something that they need to overcome. And it's our job to identify what that problem is. And then from there, we hop in and we present ourselves as the guide. And our job as the guide, it's really simple. It's to present our avatar with a plan. And based off of this plan, they're going to make a decision. Are they going to decide to follow along with what we have to say, or are they not? Which is essentially our call to action. Now, if they do not decide to do what we were telling them to do, or in some cases, maybe they were trying to do something and it didn't work, well, they lose. But ideally, the happy ending to our story that we're going to be presenting, or any story that we're going to be presenting, or even any movie that you watch, there's going to be a win, there's going to be a success, but we have to be able to describe that success. Now, take this framework and think about everything that you're going to be presenting online. don't just post just to post. Post through these exact steps. Identify an avatar, discuss a problem, talk about you being the guide, present a plan, and then present either the call to action with a happy ending or maybe the sad ending because they didn't do anything. Now, the last quick tip that I have to mention about organic is something that I see a lot of founders just misstep on. It's the idea that you're going to receive a comment that is initially going to, trigger some sort of business. That's going to happen. Like you're going to do some great content. You're going to post it. Someone's going to comment and say, "Hey, I love your comment, your post. Let's work together." Now, I'm going to tell you right now, factually, this is the incorrect way of thinking. And if you think that this is how it works, you're in for a world of hurt. Realistically, the way this works is you have to engage with the people that engage with you. So if someone likes the piece of content that you created through maybe liking the post or leaving a comment, typically those comments aren't going to be enough to incite business being conducted, but it is enough to incite a conversation to happen. So what you're going to need to do is whenever you see anyone engaging with your stuff, send them a message either through the comment section or via Facebook Messenger and just start a conversation with them, because the bottom line here is conversions happen in conversations. If there's one really important metric that we track around here, it's how many conversions we're having every single day, because we know that through the sheer act of having a conversation with somebody, it will eventually turn into a sale. So make sure that you're engaging with the people that are engaging with you. All right, let's move on to the next big idea. Big idea number 2, the bottom line here is if you are struggling to get leads to turn into prospects and clients and you need it to happen faster, the bottom line is you're going to need to run ads. There's just this magic mixture and sauce of being able to run an ad and being able to pull and extract leads like on demand, like right on the spot. But I've seen this happen a heck of a lot, where there will be a founder who desperately needs to drum up some business and they're gonna run an ad. And in the process of running this ad, it might be something to like, "Hey, buy my thing," or "Hey, book a strategy session. I can pitch you on my thing." And typically what happens is these ads go up, a couple $100 are spent, and nothing happens. No new leads, no new appointments, and no new sales. Now, here's the big issue with this. It is very naive to think that someone is immediately going to trust you off of an advertisement. Typically, just basic marketing 101 fundamentals, you need to create know, like, and trust in order to convert the stranger into a customer. So in order to do that, you have to present offerings within these advertisements that actually solve a distinct problem for your ideal customer. Once they enter into your world, you can nurture them through emails, through retargeted ads, through text messaging, through heck, even calling them. But you nurture that relationship to incite a conversation, and the conversation will always convert into the customer. Now, here's a quick thought experiment / framework that you can use to think about a cool advertisement to get people to actually click on your ads. So check this out. See, think of this pyramid as the different levels that you need to climb in order to create a sale. So let's say that this is our inflection point here. This is you getting a sale. Now, ideally, where they say the term red ocean, ideally where it's the most competitive is when people are trying to target the customer closest to the sale. And that's because they have the highest intent. That's usually up here. A lot of competition, and usually when you're trying to get these people, it's you become a commoditized service. It's you trying to figure out how you can be the cheapest person on the block and that's essentially what's going to get you the business. But ideally, the lower that you go on this pyramid, the cheaper it becomes to be able to acquire a lead and to be able to nurture the lead, because at that point, once you acquire the lead at the lowest point, then you can just nurture them all the way up to the inflection point. And as you can see, it ends up becoming a heck of a lot cheaper to acquire this customer by just bringing them in lower in the pyramid and then nurturing their way up, or nurturing them their way up the pyramid to the inflection point, than it is to just pay outright for the high intent lead to buy your stuff. Now, the question then becomes, how do I identify what goes in the bottom of the pyramid? Well, it's actually really, really easy. I want you to think of the decision-making process not as something that happens immediately, but as something that happens over time. There's different milestones in terms of a decision happening. I'm just going to use some roundabout numbers, but it's different for different folks and different services and different purchasing processes. But let's say that something that happens 38 days out from the decision to purchase, 60 days, and maybe 90 days. Now, your job is very simple. It is to identify what are the frustrations that your ideal customer is facing in all of these different levels. And once you've identified what is happening here, all you simply need to do is create the solution. And that solution is no more than coming up with just something very easy to present to the marketplace. A one-pager, a guide, maybe a checklist, maybe a step-by-step process, or maybe a template. But you'll find that if you're able to present this to the marketplace, it'll become a heck of a lot easier for you to be able to acquire leads really at scale. And then from there, now that you have these leads inside of your database, you just have to nurture them. And this is really where the secret sauce of having a solid nurture process comes into play. By the way, if you're at all interested in looking or me creating a video about what our nurture process looks like, we call it the lifetime nurture sequence. In the comment section, type out the words nurture. Just lets me know, hey, I should probably prioritize creating this content or this type of video. Anyways, I digress. Now, once you have all of this stuff up and running, it would behoove you to now start paying attention to the data, because the bottom line here is what gets measured gets improved. And I can't reinforce this simple thought process enough. Look, we were working with a private client, spent maybe a couple of grand off of Facebook ads, and it wasn't working for him. And essentially what he was doing is he created one ad, and he let that one ad run for 60 days, accrued a giant budget, didn't make any leads, didn't make any new appointments, didn't make any sales. And when we took a deep dive into his strategy, it was just because he created an ad, he threw it up, and he crossed his fingers, and he just waited. That's not the way that you're supposed to conduct business, nor have a viable strategy that is actually going to work for you. Instead, what you need to focus on is looking at the data on a regular basis. And this is typically the data that I look at. So let me spool up my Facebook ads real quick. Check this out. So if we're looking at our active ad campaign, one of the first places that I always want to pay attention to is where are these ads getting delivered that are actually converting into leads. And there's this really great button here where we can review a chart. So check this out. On a regular basis, I'm looking not specifically at this fancy stuff, but I'm scrolling down and looking at this stuff, the demographic information and the platform. Now, I can see here that this particular top of funnel campaign is predominantly working very well for women, number one. So that's great. If my avatar, my ideal customer is a woman, like I'm glad that it's really working toward them. And number two, I can see that the age demographic is between 25 to 54. Now, actually, I would say more 35 to 54, which is actually the ideal kind of clientele that I want to be working with. So I know my ads are doing well because they're addressing the right demographic. Now, if it's not addressing the right demographic, this is a clear indication that I probably need to adjust my ads to something that will be a little bit more relevant to who I'm trying to target. Now, I should also add that in terms of creating content, looking at your ad data is going to act as a great measuring tool, a great litmus test to the type of people that you're reaching with your organic content. And if you see that you're not reaching the right people through the ads, then it probably might mean that your organic content might be affecting your numbers as well, and it might not be hitting the people that you really truly want to target. So definitely check out the demographics. And then number two is to check out the platform. You know, I see that the majority of people that I'm working with or that are engaging with my stuff is on Instagram. So ideally, that means that I should be making more content that's suited for Instagram than for Facebook. But this is just a couple little bit of insights that I typically look through when I'm looking at analytics and going through my decision-making process of the type of content to create and how to make it resonate. Okay, now that we've taken a deep dive into the analytics, we actually can see a few things that can dictate our strategy moving forward. One is that a lot of people seem to like content on Instagram. That's where really I'm getting the most engagement from. And number two, now that I know that I need to create organic content to help reinforce the paid advertisement content that I'm putting out there, because they all work symbiotically. They don't actually work independent of each other. If you're running ads, chances are someone's going to want to click on your profile and they're going to want to look at your organic content. If someone's looking at your organic content, likely the ads are going to be retargeting them. So it's circular. Having said that, The idea here is that we want to create more compelling content organically or even via the ads that will engage more people. And we can do that simply by creating and utilizing some more of the features within Facebook. And I'm particularly talking about the stories and the reels. Look, Instagram has stories and reels, Facebook has stories and reels too. But the goal here is that we want to show up and utilize all of the tools that are available to us, on these platforms, because the reality is the more that we're using all of the tools, there's like this gray area rule that the more that the algorithm will want to promote our stuff. So having said that, utilizing stories in Facebook Reels, I actually got to tell you a quick success story. Got another private client that we've been working with, and the idea was to create content 100 days in a row. We call it 100 dirty reps around here. But in these 100 dirty reps, the goal is very simple. Post a piece of content every single day. Create a video and post it. Now for him, it was video 64, where he actually had someone engage with the content that he had created. He had been posting on Instagram and Facebook. It was the Facebook engagement that actually generated for him a $1.5 million investor into his business. So it just goes to show it's not about things magically happening overnight. It's more so about just getting used to doing the boring work and just posting every single day. But more importantly, to utilize all the platforms with this one piece of content to really get your name and your story out there. Now, if you found this content helpful at all so far, really appreciate it if you can click that like button, subscribe button, the bell icon. Just really helps out the channel. Thank you so much in advance. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's one tip that has quite honestly been the biggest game changer in terms of creating engagement and booking more appointments. And that is this. It sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. Use text. Yes, that's it. Use text. Like, I can't tell you enough about how just writing a simple text story instead of creating a video, or just writing out a few words in a Facebook post, or even just getting a screenshot of a Google Doc with some text on it and posting it as a Facebook ad has worked leaps and bounds more effectively than overproduced content. I can tell you a number of stories about how this is working, but in terms of the why, it's real simple. Your feeds are crowded with multimedia content. And oddly enough, the stuff that typically breaks through is just the written word. Like, as you're thumb scrolling, you'll see there's gonna be an ad for a picture, an ad for a video. Maybe some flashy meme, maybe some more pictures from friends and family. But the reality is just typing out a question. It will generate enough of a response, enough engagement to actually have more conversations and really start filling up your pipeline with more people. So if you're looking for a simple system or strategy for this, just think of a clear statement, make it simple, make it direct. You don't even need to talk about your product or service. Just talk about anything and just post it and see how much engagement you get off of that versus doing anything else.